is eligible for continuing education credit through Earmark. I will go over how to get your CE credit at the end of this presentation. Third, we'll be together for about 45 minutes today, and we will have time for a question and answer at the end of the presentation. Let's get started. Harbor Compliance is a nationwide provider of registered agent, business registration, licensing services, and software. We also provide an extensive nonprofit formation and fundraising compliance solutions to nonprofit organizations through Labyrinth, our nonprofit brand. Compliance isn't just a box to check, it is a fundamental requirement. Organizations must follow state and federal regulations to operate. The real challenge is deciding how to meet these requirements in the most effective way. Here's what we'll be covering today. First, we will discuss what it takes to form a new business and the necessary steps to take as your business grows. After, we'll discuss the ongoing requirements to keep your business in good standing. Finally, we will share why outsourcing compliance can free up resources and support your company's growth. Let's jump into form a new entity. When forming a new business, one of the first steps is choosing the right entity type. An LLC or limited liability company is a very popular with small businesses because it offers liability protection. With a simple structure and pass-through taxation, a C corporation is a classic choice for companies planning to raise significant outside investment or even go public, though it does involve corporate taxation. An S corporation provides pass through taxation and avoids double taxation, but it comes with restrictions such as cap on the number of shareholders and ownership limited to the U.S. individuals. For organizations serving the public good, a nonprofit corporation is often the right fit for them. These entities can apply for tax exempt status with the IRS. And finally, professional entities like professional corporations or PLLCs are reserved for licensed professionals such as attorneys, doctors, and architects, offering liability protection while meeting state licensing rules. Keep in mind, this is general information only. Each type of entity comes with its unique legal and tax considerations. So it's important to consult with a qualified advisor before making a decision. When choosing when to form a new entity, there are several options to consider. For example, Delaware is popular with startups because of its investor friendly corporate law and specialized court of chancery. Nevada stands out for its lack of state corporate income tax and strong privacy protections. Texas offers a large and growing economy with a strong workforce, making it attractive for companies planning to hire locally. Finally, for many business owners, forming in their home state is often the most practical choice since it avoids additional costs of foreign qualification and directly matches where the business is already operating. These examples are for general educational purposes only. Each business has unique needs, so it is important to consult a qualified legal or tax professional before making a decision. Every business entity is required to maintain a registered agent in the state where it is formed and in any state where it is qualified to do business. The registered agent's job is to receive official documents like lawsuits and state notices. You can technically appoint yourself or an employee, but that comes with risks. The agent must be available at the listed address during all business hours, Monday through Friday. Missing a delivery could result in penalties or even default judgments. There are also privacy considerations. The registered agent's address is public record, so many owners prefer to use a service provider rather than their home or office address. Using a commercial registered agent service ensures reliability and continuity. Finally, if you are planning to operate in multiple states, a commercial registered agent service like Harbor Compliance can simplify operations by providing consistent coverage across all 50 states. This saves you time, reduces complexity, and ensures you never miss a critical document. As your business grows, you may need to operate in multiple states. Foreign qualification is required when you're considering to be doing business in another state. This often includes having an office, employees, or entering into contracts in that jurisdiction. One of the biggest surprises for new business owners is how much complexity varies from state to state. Filing timelines, for example, can range from just a few days in Delaware to several weeks in states like California or New York. This affects how soon your company can officially operate. Filing fees also differ widely. Some states charge less than $100, while others charge several $100s, which adds up so quickly if you are forming into multiple states at one time. Beyond the basics, some states have additional requirements. For instance, a few require general business licenses, initial reports, or even the publication of formation notices in a local newspaper. Tax requirements also vary. Texas has a franchise tax, while Nevada doesn't levy a corporate income tax at all. Finally, don't forget that simply having employees in another state can trigger additional filings, such as registering with the Secretary of State and setting up payroll tax. Doing business across state lines can also trigger not only foreign qualification, but also sales tax registrations. This is why businesses expanding across state lines need to plan ahead and anticipate these differences. The South Dakota versus Wayfair Incorporated decision was a game changer for sales tax obligations. While it may not have received as much attention as it might have under normal circumstances, given its timely shortly before COVID-19 pandemic, its impact has been profound. That said, ignorance of this decision isn't a defense and enforcement is real. Businesses now face obligations in states where they may have no physical presence requiring proactive attention to avoid penalties. Let's do a quick check here. How would you describe your sales tax registration status? Are you fully registered everywhere you need to be? Are you still figuring things out? Or not sure where to begin? Let's just drop an answer in the chat. We'd love to hear where you stand with this. A few people had it themselves, figuring it out. Let's move on. Let's talk about the impact of remote work on regulatory requirements. As many organizations shift to long term or permanent remote work arrangements, their regulatory footprint is expanding. While some companies are returning to an in person operations, remote work is here to stay for many. This means businesses now register to operate in additional states where their employees are located, manage tax obligations, and ensure they have the right licenses in place. Just like in your home state, your business now has ongoing obligations in every additional state where it's operating. These include maintaining a registered agent, filing annual reports, paying franchise taxes, and renewing business licenses. For registered agent requirements, every state where you do business requires that you designate a current registered agent to receive legal notices and service a process. If the agent's information changes, that must be updated with the state. Using a single service provider like Harbor Compliance can greatly simplify this process by consolidating all of your registered agent needs into one annual invoice. Then there's the annual report. Nearly every state requires entities to file some sort of annual periodic report. Because deadlines and filing schedules vary by state, some are annual, some are biannual, and even as long as decennial in states like Pennsylvania, multi-state businesses must stay on top of filings throughout the year. Pennsylvania did change their filing this past year to make it yearly. Many states also impose a franchise tax to maintain corporate good standing. States like California, New York, and Texas are well known for these requirements. These filings are separate from income tax and must be tracked and paid on time. On top of that, most business licenses must be renewed and remain valid. These renewals can be annual, biannual, or follow another timeline altogether. Regardless of the schedule, organizations need a reliable system to track deadlines and ensure updates are filed on time. Managing all of this across multiple states isn't a one time task, it's ongoing and dynamic. Requirements change often. Statuses, forms, agency websites, and even which agencies will handle which tasks. If your organization handles its own state registrations, chances are you'll eventually run into one of these changes, resulting in rejected filings, lost time, and added administrative work. That is why outsourcing these tasks to a trusted provider that stays on top of regulatory changes can be a smart and efficient solution. Finally, don't forget your organization is evolving too. Internal changes often trigger registration updates, whether you're creating a new entity, undergoing a merger, rebranding, appointing a new leadership, or expanding into a new state. Each change requires updates across Secretary of State records, tax departments, and licensing agencies. That is why it's so important to have a process or partner in place to handle multi state regulatory requirements as your organization grows and changes. I am going to drop another poll here of how many of you have direct experience with this out of state registration compliance. Should be on your screen right now. Mixed answers right away. Wow, that's excellent to see. A lot of companies registering in a new state in the next 6 months. We'd love to hear that. Congratulations. Let's take a look at a routine process for a multi state business, hiring an employee in a new jurisdiction for the first time. Hiring a new employee might sound straightforward, but ensuring they can be paid requires opening payroll tax accounts in their jurisdiction. This process often lands on HR, but it's really a task for a tax compliance team. HR teams find themselves in the middle, coordinating with payroll providers, accounting and finance, and sometimes external accounting firms. Relying on a compliance partner like Harbor Compliance with experience in open and payroll tax in every state can make this process far smoother. Firsthand knowledge of the process allows them to navigate jurisdiction specific requirements, minimize delays, and significantly reduce the risk of mistakes. The right partner will handle the heavy lifting, so all your team needs to do is provide the new account numbers to your payroll provider. With a proactive compliance management approach, you can eliminate confusion, streamline this process, and reduce friction, keeping the hiring process moving smoothly. Let's drop another question here. Have you set up payroll in a new jurisdiction for the first time in the past 12 months? You just drop a quick yes or no in the chat. We'd love to see where everyone stands on payroll tax setup. Awesome. A few of us have done this in the past. Payroll tax registration does not exist in isolation. It often requires foreign qualification, which means registering your business with the new state's Secretary of State Board. This process allows your business to legally operate in another state. It involves appointing a registered agent to handle that official communications and compliance documentation in that state. Using a nationwide registered agent provider like Harbor Compliance simplifies this entire process significantly. We can serve as your registered agent across all states and handle entity filings seamlessly. while routine foreign qualifications can still add complexity and ongoing obligations like annual report filings, which can also offload we can also offload for you. And since we have experience with this process every state, it allows you to take a proactive approach and anticipate these needs upfront. This helps you avoid scrambling between HR, accounting, and legal teams and ensures requirements are met without disrupting your business. When foreign qualification is completed, businesses often discover that obtaining licenses is their next hurdle. Whether you are in a regulated industry or not, many states require general business licenses for all entities. Legal teams, sometimes with help from outside counsel, are typically involved in this process, but it is another layer of complexity. With a proactive compliance partner like Harbor Compliance that can help you see these challenges coming, you can integrate licensing into your workflow, saving you time and reducing lots of stress. Finally, once tax accounts, entity registration, and licenses are sorted out, corporate records must be updated and maintained. This step often requires legal and executive involvement as they are the teams typically responsible for managing organizational records. You might be wondering how hiring an employee could trigger updates to your corporate records. Under the Corporate Transparency Act, businesses must keep their corporate details up to date with FinCEN through BOI reporting. If a business foreign qualifies in a new state and their name is unavailable, they may need to use a forced assumed name. While this doesn't happen every time, such naming changes can require an updated BOI report. Failing to report these changes promptly can result in costly penalties. In summary, even basic operations like hiring an employee in a new jurisdiction can quickly snowball and require input from across the business. By partnering with the right compliance vendor that can assist you with across all entity records, licenses, and tax items, you can stay ahead of these requirements, reduce stress, and avoid any last minute surprises. With the rise of remote work, expanded sales tax obligations and consolidation activity, it's clear that nearly every organization operates across lines today. Managing regulatory complexity has become a universal challenge that requires a strategic approach. It also means fewer and fewer businesses are able to achieve and maintain comprehensive compliance, meaning those that do are truly differentiated versus the competition. I do have one last poll here on how you are managing your out of state registrations. Dropping that in the chat now. How are you managing the registrations and licenses across state lines? Are you doing it yourself? Do you have somebody else that's doing it for you? One of each so far. Excellent. Multiple. Awesome. I'm seeing every answer besides just operating in one state. So everybody here has multiple states they're operating in. Let's move on. Along with the annual reports, many states require renewals for licenses, permits, and registered agent services. Staying on top of these requirements ensures your entity remains in good standing and avoid penalties. Next, we will discuss the renewal process and ongoing requirements for your business to remain in good standing. Annual reports are the most consistent ongoing obligations for business entities. Depending on the state, they are due every year or every other year. These filings update basic business information like addresses, registered agent, and officer or ownership details. They also require filing fees, which vary widely, and deadlines that differ by state. Some tied to your anniversary date, others use a set calendar date. Staying on top of annual reports is crucial because missing one can mean late fees, loss of good standing, or even administrative dissolution. Forming your entity is just the first step. In many cases, you will also need business licenses and permits. General business licenses are common at both the state and local level. Certain professions like engineers, contractors, health providers, they will require specialized licensing. Don't overlook the sales tax permits either. Even if you don't have a physical presence, many states' economic nexus laws can still require registration. On top of that, cities and counties may require zoning permits or health inspections depending on your operations. Most licenses will renew annually, and missing a renewal can result in penalties or even prevent your business from operating until reinstated, which makes careful tracking essential. While higher interest rates have slowed borrowing for some, M&A remains a dominant growth strategy in many sectors, and compliance plays a critical role in this process. Organizations in good standing have a significant advantage. They can acquire or be acquired without delays or complications, but compliance considerations do not stop there. Post deal steps like deciding which entities will survive, winding down subsumed entities, and managing licenses and tax registrations are crucial for a smooth transition and long term success. Amendments. They're going to be formal way to update your entity's information with the Secretary of State. Common examples including changing your business name, which also requires updates with the IRS, your bank, and licensing agencies. Address changes, especially for your registered agent address, are critical to ensure you receive state notices and legal documents. Changes in ownership or management often require prompt updates so state records remain accurate. If your business purpose changes, for instance, expanding from consulting to also selling products, some states or industries may require new licenses or permits. Finally, larger changes like mergers or converting from an LLC to a corporation must be documented with the amendment filings. These updates keep your business records aligned with reality, which protects your good standing and avoids conflicts with regulators or business partners. Next, let's discuss the major macroeconomic trends that are driving regulatory complexity. Compliance is non negotiable. Organizations must follow laws and regulations or risk penalties, losing their right to operate and damaging their reputation. Effective compliance starts with understanding and managing four key areas: entity registration, record keeping, licensing, and tax obligations. Let's begin with business registration. This is usually the first step when entering a new state, most commonly known as foreign qualification. But in some states, it may involve forming a new legal entity depending on the organization's structure and goals. Registration occurs with the Secretary of State offices and grants the business's legal permission to operate in that jurisdiction. It typically also reserves the entity's name in the state and grants access to the court system to bring or defend lawsuits. As part of this process, the business must designate a registered agent. This individual or company is responsible for receiving service of processes and other time sensitive legal documents. While many organizations appoint registered agents on an as needed basis, this can lead to a patchwork of providers, increasing administrative complexity, cost, and risk of miscommunications. A better approach is to consolidate your registered agent representation with a single provider who meets the requirements across all jurisdictions. Providers like Harbor Compliance are happy to help streamline this for you. Next is tax registration. This involves opening the appropriate tax accounts needed to file returns and pay taxes. For employers, this often means withholding and unemployment tax accounts. While sellers may need sales tax permits, Tax registration becomes necessary when a business establishes nexus, which is a sufficient physical or economic connection to a state. What's important to remember is that registering with the Departments of Revenue and Labor isn't automatic. It requires intentional action by the organization. And because tax forms can be complex, it's best to be proactive. Register before conducting taxable activities like hiring employees or making sales. Finally, there's business licensing. Obtaining the proper licenses allows an organization to operate legally in a specific location or industry. Licenses may be required at the state or local level and can apply to both the business and its individual employees. With over 150,000 licensing authorities across the United States, there's no universal process for obtaining a license. That's why organizations must take a proactive approach. Identify what's required, apply early, and work with legal advisors or service providers as needed. Together, these four areas: entity registration, registered agent appointment, tax registration, and licensing form the foundation of good standing and ongoing regulatory success. Compliance requirements are rarely isolated, and addressing one often uncovers others. For instance, hiring an employee may require a state payroll tax ID, which in many states cannot be obtained without registering a legal entity with the Secretary of State. Similarly, applying for a license often demands proof of existence compliance, such as Secretary of State registration, tax registration, and other filings, depending on factors like the entity's name, ownership structure, or industry. Many organizations initially focus on resolving the issue in front of them, unaware of the additional requirements that lie beneath the surface, much like hidden mass of an iceberg. A disconnected approach can create the insufficiencies and increase risk, highlighting the need for integrated compliance management. To stay in good standing, organizations must maintain all of their Secretary of State tax and licensing obligations and be prepared to develop and adopt a solution that supports these interconnected regulatory requirements. Let's take a brief moment here to review some of the state level updates. Starting with New Mexico, as of December 9th, New Mexico launched a new unified online filing system. All business transactions must now go through this new portal. With this new launch, the legacy corporations and business services system has been fully discontinued and is no longer available. For those who have prepaid because of this old system, refunds were issued to the name and address on file, and those funds did not carry over to the new platform. There are also a few changes. Available services, correspondent filings are no longer accepted, and currently expedited online filing options are unavailable in this new system. Let's go on to Vermont. On December 16th, Vermont Secretary of State also transitioned to a new filing system. To use the new portal, users must create a new account if they haven't already done so on or after that date. These updated highlights importance of staying on top of the state system changes, especially as they impact how filings are submitted and processed. I do have actually one more brief poll here on how you get your updates on these kinds of changes. Last poll. Where do you get the updates on those changes? Are you doing your own research, attorney, accountant, Google alerts? A lot of us doing individual research, accountant. Thank you. On average, government red tape only increases over time. Another key trend is increasing proliferation of regulatory reporting requirements. A prime example is the beneficial beneficial ownership information reporting requirements brought to you by the Corporate Transparency Act that took effect last year. These regulations mandate organizations to disclose their significant ownership details to enhance transparency and accountability. This adds another layer of complexity to an already challenging landscape, reinforcing the need for proactive management. As of March 21st, 2025, FinCEN announced an interim final ruling that domestic reporting companies, otherwise known as businesses formed in the US, are no longer required to file BOI reports. For now, only foreign reporting companies are required to file, but FinCEN is continuing to emphasize the importance of BOI reporting. We do have a blog that keeps you up to date on this just because it's changed so many times over the last year. Next up, we have the drawbacks of taking a do it yourself approach. Let's admit it, managing government paperwork isn't exactly a passion project for most people. But here's the thing, at Harbor Compliance, we love doing it. Yes, we're those compliance nerds who get excited about filing deadlines and regulatory nuances. We embrace it wholeheartedly. We know it's not for everyone, and that's completely fine. We are here to help everyone that can't stand the thought of another filing process on their own. Too often, this stuff falls on the plate of an overworked admin or team member who already has a full time job. It can be a little thankless and a lot of tedious. But here's the good news, we are on your side, ready to partner with you and lighten the load and make the process more manageable. I dare to say we even enjoy it. We handle the details so your team can get back to work they actually care about. Accountants and attorneys are rock stars in their fields, whether it's navigating complex tax strategies or providing invaluable legal counsel. But let's face it, multi state compliance, that's not exactly their idea of a good time. They'll probably thank you for sparing them the headache of keeping up with regulatory technicalities and letting them focus on what they excel at. And for any accountants and attorneys joining us on today's call, first, thanks for being here. If you ever dreamed of offloading those regulatory tasks to someone you trust, we'd love to chat with you. We specialize in the nitty gritty, so you can stick to what you know best and enjoy the process a whole lot more. Procrastinating on compliance may not seem like a big deal until you are in the middle of a fire drill. These last minute scrambles often occur at the worst times, like right before a major bid or an expansion opportunity. And if something slips through the cracks, the consequences can be severe. Falling out of good standing or facing licensing issues can disrupt operations entirely with costly delays. But it's not just the business at risk here. These crises take a toll on the entire team. The stress of the constant firefighting, especially for your employees who already wear too many hats, leads to burnout, frustration, and inefficiency. Proactive compliance management isn't just about avoiding business risks, it's about fostering a healthier, more sustainable work environment for your team. Strategic partnership advantages. Harbor Compliance delivers unmatched expertise in multi state compliance. From purpose built technology to extensive requirements, data, and proven multi state expertise, we ensure your compliance needs are handled seamlessly. Through our strategic partnerships with accountants and attorneys, we will provide a comprehensive strategy for your entire organization. By partnering with compliance experts, your organization can avoid last minute crises, maintain smooth operations, and ensure uninterrupted growth. Imagine being able to hire that perfect candidate in a state without hesitation, confidently bid on projects across jurisdictions, knowing you will meet all of the requirements the first time, or expanding your product offerings to new markets without the fear of tax complications. A strategic approach to compliance is not just to avoid penalties, it's about creating a stable foundation that empowers your business to say yes to opportunities the moment they arise. When compliance is handled proactively, you are free to focus on what matters most, and that is growing your business. All right, let's open the floor to some questions. Please use the Q&A feature to share any inquiries. We'll address as many as time permits. If you'd like to learn more about how we can work together or support your organization, please get in touch with us. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, today's session is eligible for continuing education credit through Earmark. You can use the QR code on the screen to download the Earmark app. After the session concludes, we will email out a 5-question quiz. Once you complete that quiz, you will receive your CPE certificate. I will stay on the call here for a bit, but to take this next step in streamlining your compliance process, consider scheduling a consultation or taking advantage of our free assessment. Our team is here to help you succeed. I will stay on for a few minutes here to answer any questions, but as of that, that is all the time we have for today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to meet with us and hope you have a great rest of your day.